about community a lot this weekend, so that's what this video is going to focus on. Just kind of some concrete ways of how to support, I guess, the small game design community. As always, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell on this video because I make videos every Tuesday and Friday, so you can expect them from me on those days. The first tip is actively seek out marginalized voices in your community and lift them up. So what does that mean? How do you lift up a voice? Well, if you're in a conversation with 4 people and one of them is marginalized, make sure that you redirect the conversation to highlight whatever they're saying if someone interrupts them, or if it seems like they want to say something but they haven't said something. Try to shift the focus of the conversation or ask them if they want to participate. Often marginalized voices are kind of pushed down in a conversation. That's just on a conversational level though. You can also do this on social media by boosting anything that they're making or any interesting observations that they have that you might think would benefit the community as a whole. You can share those. That's a way to boost up what they're saying, is by sharing it and spreading it, right? Also make sure that you're reaching out to people for invitations to games, whether that be in your local community or online, so that you make sure that marginalized people are being invited to the game and to the conversation, basically, right? Do the same thing at conventions, for conventions. Make sure that if you are organizing something, or even if you're not organizing it and you're a part of that community and you know you're gonna be at that event or at that convention, reach out to some marginalized people you know who might live nearby or who you think might be interested. Keep them in mind, invite them, because often, people feel, I even feel this way sometimes too, like maybe I'm not welcome, or maybe I shouldn't go to the event, maybe it's not for me. But I know if I have at least one person backing me up, there's going to be potentially others, or it might even be a space for me. So that's a good way to let people know that. This is a big one. Think of something that you might provide to the community that benefits others more than it benefits yourself. So, what can you do that is selfless, that will help the community? Don't spend too much of your energy doing this, right? You don't want to burn out by only benefiting everyone else, but consider, would this piece of knowledge be helpful to the community in this way? How can you help shape the community into being a better place based on what you know? And what can you help the community with? Think of yourself as like one cog in a big machine, and the machine is the community. So what you have to offer can support every other cog that you're connected to. This is what I talk about all the time. Highlight and support games by marginalized creators. A lot of times, games that are smaller, games that are designed by people who are marginalized in any way, don't get as much attention as other games do. Games that are made by people with privilege, who have the right connections, the right money, the right time, whatever, to spend in promoting and marketing and getting their game out there. So often marginalized games survive by word of mouth. So that's a great way you can support the game design community, is by highlighting those marginalized games you see that not only you're interested in, but that might not be getting as much attention as they deserve. So try to do that as much as possible. Introduce and connect people with like interests, online and in person. So if 2 people are, I don't know, really into, what's a good example? Like really into cyberpunk, let's say cyberpunk. And maybe they don't know each other and you think it would be cool if they met up. You can say, hey, this is my friend Anne and this is my friend Leslie. You're both really into cyberpunk. Did you know that? Maybe you could talk. And good things can come of those connections. Make sure that you're always doing that with someone's permission, of course. Don't just like throw people at 3 people. But you can ask if they'd like to be introduced. And when you start connecting people in that way, you might be able to see the way they're connected, but they might not. And so you can act as the connector for them. That's a way that you can start connecting people inside of your community, or bring people into your community through those connections. That's a great tool. Support with money the things that you want to see. So, just like movies, is a great example. Like right now we're seeing a lot of diverse movies coming out. People are always like, go and support it with money, show them that we care and we want more of this. It's the same with games. If you begin to support the things you want to see with money, with time, support, knowledge, anything that you have, if you don't have money, right, there's other ways you can support things by boosting the signal or whatever. But try to show the industry as a whole that this is something that we want. That's a great way to show them. Support organizers and learn how to organize things. If one person is doing the organizing all the time in your community, whether small or big, they can experience organizer burnout. It's a lot of work and energy and time and effort and money to organize stuff in game communities. So if you see someone who's constantly doing this, see how you can support them. Learn how to do organizing so that maybe you can take some of the load off of them, or maybe switch off year after year if it's an event. Especially if this is a marginalized person, they're spending extra energy that they don't have on organizing stuff like this. And they might not be making money. A lot of events organizers in gaming, small or large, if it's your house or your friend's house, a small private convention, a little bit of a larger local convention, a lot of those don't make too much money, if any. And so a lot of it is volunteer work. People burn out. Figure out ways that you can also be a pillar in that community and take on that responsibility. This is a hard one, but we all have imposter syndrome to some degree or other for various things. But try to quiet it when you are in a community or a new space or coming in. I think that I'm not saying don't talk about your imposter syndrome, because obviously it's good to talk about stuff. And it is good to critique potential obstacles within a community that prevent people from feeling welcome, right? Those are both great. But imposter syndrome is is often on the person themselves, like the feelings of inadequacy, feelings that they don't belong. Often this is just a personal feeling, and you can overcome it by how I overcome it is by just pretending that I belong. Right? Like, fake it till you make it. And often it's not the community in any way that is like trying to say you don't belong here. It's just like my feelings of inadequacy or insecurity that are making me feel that way. Sometimes it is legit that like I'm the only genderqueer person in a room. That feels weird, stuff like that. But that doesn't mean that the community isn't trying to welcome me, or that I am not welcome actually in that space. It's complicated, but I think that if we focus on pushing that aside at first and trying to engage in the community as it is, and then potentially fixing it from within, that can be pretty valuable. Identify bad actors in your community or adjacent to your community. Share information about them. Make sure everyone knows who they are. If you can't share what they've done, if it's too private, that is one potential issue with harassers. But if you let everyone know who they are, keep them out of your spaces. And this is especially relevant for people with privilege to reinforce, because often marginalized people, women, I see this happen to women all the time in game communities, will point out a harasser, and instead of steps being taken to remove the harasser or quiet the harasser, the woman will then be shunned from the community in various ways, because suddenly they can't go to events anymore. No one wants to organize events around them versus around the harasser. And it's a huge problem. So try to get bad actors out of your spaces completely, and make sure everyone is reinforcing that idea, especially privileged people in those spaces. And this is one that I try to do a lot. Figure out what the community needs and try to find creative solutions that you can make yourself, or that you can propose for someone else to do. Communities need various things, and in the game design community, there's lots of stuff that I think we're lacking, that we could find creative solutions together to fix. There's a lot of good things too, but you know, everyone knows the problems are pretty obvious in lots of ways. And the more we work together to try to find creative solutions, instead of despairing, instead of you know, quitting forever, instead of being a little too optimistic and kind of ignoring what's going on, try to stay somewhere in the middle and work with people around you to find creative solutions to those problems. That's the only way we're going to get through it and make things better. Those are my community ideas. Yeah, I've just been thinking about it a lot. I watched this Nordic LARP video, or not Nordic LARP, Living Games conference video. They're all up on YouTube. And some people were did a talk about pillars versus parasites in communities. And it just kind of made me think about my immediate communities, you know, friends and family, and my extended communities in gaming, online and at conventions, you know, and in different spaces. So these are just some of the things that I try to do in order to make our community better. And I hope that you will try to do them too. Let me know in the comments below what types of actions that you take to improve our communities, our gaming communities. I would love to know what you do, and also, you know, what I didn't hit in this quick video. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next vid.